What if a writer does not know if they're a conceptual writer or an intuitive writer?
Yeah, great question. So I can tell in 10 seconds, but I've been doing this a while. So what I'll do is, well, I can tell by reading it, but that's not going to be helpful to the writer. The writer can't necessarily read it. But here's what a writer can do. So I'll ask the writer questions. So I can tell from a writer, and I haven't read their writing. So what I'll do is, now they have to have written at least a script. So I'll say, let's talk about the last script you wrote. Why did you write it? You know, what was your inspiration? What was your jumping off point? What did you get excited about? And just listen, and I can tell in 10 seconds. So if it's a conceptual writer, first of all, they're going to be answering from just their voice. It's going to be answering from the more analytical, intellectual part of the brain, and you just can hear that. But also they're going to be talking about, they started with an idea, a concept. Ooh, no one's done a thriller where, you know, or this I thought would be a really good comedy. Or they'll talk about, oh, a twist ending they had, or an opening, story stuff. Or they might be talking about world. Conceptual writers love world building. So could be world building, could be a concept, an idea, part of a story, a beginning, a twist ending, a this, that's, now when you talk to an intuitive writer, they're going to be talking about it from a more emotionally authentic, vulnerable place. And they're almost always going to say, well, so there's this character, you know, and it's a character. Or it's something personal. And they might be able to say, like, I worked with a writer once and she's like, yeah, I just went through this really painful divorce. And I either just cry myself to sleep every night and drink, or I could write about it. Okay, so that's an intuitive writer. Or sometimes they don't even know. They'll say, I don't know, and they're almost embarrassed, but like, I had to write this. I just had to write this. That's an intuitive writer. So what is your inspiration? What got you excited? Another thing I'll ask is, okay, so when you're working on this script, was there ever a point where you got like it got tough, like you got lost, or you didn't know what to do? And they're like, oh yeah, and I go, what did you do? And you know, an intuitive writer, they're going to find the solution in the character and just what feels right. And the conceptual writer is like, well, I thought, you know, for someone who reads it, it'd be good if this happens. And they're just coming at it from a completely different space. Now, just to confuse this for a moment, I always get in my workshops, I'd say 90% of the writers, within a few weeks, they know they're conceptual or intuitive. And there's no gender to this. I mean, I have equal amount of conceptual writers who are men and women, same with intuitive. But there's always like 1 or 2 or 3 writers who will say, I'm so confused. I really thought I was intuitive because this, but then I thought I was conceptual. When I do this exercise, I feel like I'm both, but I don't think I do either that great. Exactly. There's a small percentage of writers, I call them slidable. So if you think about like the conceptual and the intuitive, and most people, obviously, unless you've had like brain damage, you have access to both parts and you use different parts. You know, when you sleep, you're using your intuitive. When you're solving math, you're doing the conceptual. But most people will hang out here as a writer or hang out here. But there's some small percent of writers that just slide back and forth. So they're like, oh yeah, I thought it was this. And they're like kind of equally comfortable. They just slide back and forth, but they're not strong enough in either space. So they will just pick one space, stay there, get really strong at it, then go over here and get really strong at this. If you are slidable, you should celebrate, because that's the hardest part. So I'm a diehard conceptual writer. So when I was doing this training, it was so hard to turn off the conceptual brain. It was so hard to go over here. And when I was over here, at some point I'd have a conceptual thought or a conceptual concern, and I would just go, whoop, and I would just stay here. I had to learn how to slide back and forth effortlessly. That's the hardest thing for me to teach someone. And some people naturally do it. I don't know why, but they do. So it's possible someone listening to this, they answer the questions that I ask, and they're like, I kind of think I'm both. That is possible. But you might need to get stronger at one or both sides.